So, let's talk boss battles. Games are often debated as to whether or not they are a kind of art form. Much like art, it takes effort to make something that people will praise consistently, and in the case of this game, it does that very well, in the most unique way I've ever seen. No Straight Roads is a game where you play as an indie rock duo called Bunk Bed Junction, or individually, Mayday and Zook. After a failed audition gets rock music banned from musical auditions for their city, they see things aren't really going so well for those outside of the EDM elites. So they decide to do what any rock star would do when someone tells them to turn off their music. Play it louder. They go up against the top artists of NSR to bring rock back to Vinyl City and issue a new age. The bosses of this game were a big highlight, being representative of not only different styles, but also as symbols of the dark side of the music industry as a whole. Brace yourselves because these are going to be ranked from worst to best based on my experiences, and yes, we're talking about all of them. Now take it away, Mayday.
Let's rock the talk!
True love is finally here.
Boy bands are somewhat of a relic in this day and age, with the most recent ones being K-pop or J-pop, or more for the Western audiences, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and One Direction. Do I seriously have no other comparison? That said, I could see why they're very popular. The requirements to sing a song well as dance at the same time requires a lot of stamina that not many possess. That said, fighting a boss like that should be simple, right? Well, kinda. 1010 is the boy band of Vinyl City and the second highest ranked artists of the game. They are all robots with different colors and hairstyles that get all the girls drooling. It even works on Mayday when you first rock up to their ship.
We salute you for gracing us with your exotic beauty, your lustrous hair, your beautiful gaze, even your lips, which form that radiant smile. Our breaths are stifled. Stifled, 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 stifled.
You think you can sway her heart that easily? She's not going to fall for those cheap compliments. You tell her, May. May?
Wow, you're just jelly that all these pretty boys are fawning over me.
May.
Did you hear what they said about my lips, though?
What have you done to her, 1010?
How's the fight itself? It's a slog. Yeah, not gonna lie, this fight was a major letdown. A lot of the time spent in this fight is waiting for the bosses to let their shields down so you can damage them, and even then, they're just bait to lure out the big guy himself, Neon J. Every time you destroy a bot, he comes by at the end of the cycle to replace what you killed, at which point you're supposed to shoot him down with music notes. Definitely does a good job showcasing how replaceable people are in the pop industry, no matter how pretty they are. But the wait times in this fight are so bad that an entire phase is just dodging for a cycle before it just ends. It doesn't even pick up a lot of steam until the final phase where you fight Neon J himself. That said, the music in this fight is one of the biggest selling points, complete with a fan cover by Juno songs. Seriously, give it a listen to, it is well worth it. It may work for you, but this fight just wasn't for me.
Read my Bayang Super Guy. Ewa!
Ah, family drama. Good for fueling some of the best works of art. It worked with Edgar Allan Poe, and here, it sorta worked.
Oh, brother. Exactly! Zook's big brother!
Okay, credit where credit is due. The only required section with DK West was the very first one, and he's definitely an entertaining character to say the least. His fights are the only ones that change from the normal beat-em-up style, and it doesn't even have an EDM or rock meter. Not to mention, they are the only fights where the music is one genre and one genre only. Pure Malaysian rap battles. His design is also unique, being garbed in traditional Malaysian garb and henna tattoos on his arms. He's also the only character to speak primarily in Malaysian, even in the English dub, but his raps are also in English. It works. Unique in design to be sure, and a good look into Zook's backstory, which is definitely a rocky one to say the least. However, if you want the other duo power-ups and 100% completion, you need to fight him a total of 3 times. And the second time shows how much of a difficulty spike these encounters actually are. Hi, this is Shun from the future. When I say difficulty spike, I don't mean super boss kind of difficulty spike. I mean, midway you're level 12 and now you're playing through the fire and flames, difficulty spike. For as much backstory as these fights provide between the main characters in West, the reverse Guitar Hero controls felt awkward at first and even irritating in later fights. It's not exactly helped by the music itself. Fight number 1, absolute jam, but fights 2 and 3 just feel kinda... meh. I don't know if it's the style of rap that doesn't agree with me, but for some reason, it just doesn't work. I will say, one highlight of every fight, though, was the fact that at the end of every one, there was a JoJo reference.
That was some legit rapping skills you got there, May.
You're welcome, buddy. Yo!
Seems like I have no choice but to defeat you with the power of love, Sayu.
With the rise of VTubers in recent years, it's only fitting that we get one in a game. Enter Sayu. Okay, let's get the negatives out of the way. Her quotes are super cringeworthy and some of her attacks can stunlock you for bullshit reasons, especially on higher difficulties. What else is there? Well, she's a chaser boss that you don't actually damage. Odd choice, but okay. Instead, you traverse her digital landscape and attack her digital cores and cause her to glitch out. Each core is representative of each member of the group that originally made Sayu. Every time you defeat a core, the music and the environment change to shut that particular part down. There's even a part where you need to avoid a mouse cursor from Sayu's editor trying to cut you out. Honestly, this is probably the most original digital boss I've seen. Now, I acknowledge this fight could have been handled a lot better, but honestly, I like how catchy her song is, the designs she gets are unique, and the level is absolutely gorgeous to look at. Not to mention the symbolism of a company corrupting an indie artist group the moment they sign on. That is something to think about, especially with how our favorite platforms have been acting in recent years. Looking at you, YouTube! The only real problems I had were in later stages of the fight with the digital fish ring and some software issues that never exactly got ironed out in the Switch version. But for a fight in a digital plane chasing down a cute core mermaid taking inspiration from Hatsune Miku and I'm pretty sure Hololive, it could have been so much worse. For a boss to be memorable, there are many factors to look at outside of the fight itself. Personality of the character, the environment, the music, and story significance are all major factors to take into account with this game. For example, what happens when you take Sheldon Cooper, give him the personality of Swordsword and Shielbert, and a DJ setup with a space motif? You get this, asshole.
Don't you know who I am? I am DJ Subatomic Supernova! My music will reach the furthest corners of the galaxy. What have you done today, simpletons?
DJ Subatomic Supernova is the very first boss of the game and is more of an introduction to the mechanics than the tutorial. Now let's start with his character. He's an astrophysicist that only became a DJ to get people to listen to him. The fame went to his head, and here stands one of the most arrogant assholes leading NSR. The music fits his motif of space, as well as being a good introduction to the kind of music he'll face later on. The environment? You're standing on an asteroid belt that later turns into the frickin' solar system, and he can literally scratch on you for style points! This is a 4-phase fight. Quite unexpected for a first boss, but definitely not unwelcome. The first phase is where you break some asteroids to get ammo, which you can then shoot at him to get your damage on him. This is also the phase where you find out that he doesn't actually wear pants. The second phase is the same, only now he's huge and scratching planets at you, plus he now launches his own meteors at you. The third phase adds a giant planet laser and scratching at you from above, and finally, the final phase is parrying his planets back into his face. It's definitely good at ramping up the difficulty in a way that's fair and not cheap like Sayu or DK West. This was a fight that, in my humble opinion, feels too good to be a first boss. A second or third? Maybe, but definitely too good for a first, whereas 1010 felt like a first boss with how much waiting you did! The This next character can be summed up with just one little song.
She's the crazy ex-girlfriend.
What? No, I'm not.
She's the crazy ex-girlfriend.
That's a sexist term.
She's the crazy ex-girlfriend.
Can you guys stop singing for just a second?
She's so broken inside.
Yeah, this is what happens when you piss off the art kid. Eve is the top artist of NSR, and also Zook's ex-girlfriend. This was not a reunion he was looking forward to. Eve's whole artistic vibe is dichotomy. Her look represents the art piece of two colors on one face actually being two faces, and her music reflects this as two sides of music and how each person hears something different with the same song. This becomes especially prevalent after Eve splits up Mayday and Zook during the second phase of the fight. One person can hear harsh dubstep and booming bass like with Mayday, or they can hear soft sounds and melodies that make the song really beautiful to listen to like with Zook. She's still reaching out to get Zook back, but is willing to fight against both of them to achieve her goal. Then again, if your ex was crazy enough to set your hair on fire, you'd probably piece out of that relationship as well. This fight is one that not only tested everything you learned throughout the game, but also tested how well you listen to the music in each fight. Remember how I mentioned the parry mechanic earlier? That mechanic is where if you listen to the music and time your hits with the beat, you can return fire back at the enemy. Eve messes with that a bit by switching between 4-4 and 6-8 time every 2 measures throughout Phase 2. It's dirty, devious, and downright disgraceful. I love it. Even after getting her ass kicked, she still reconciles with Zook because, in the end, she still believes that he deserves to be happy even if it's not with her. This fight was an amazing and trippy experience, and the music is actually my favorite boss theme of the game. Even more so than the next 2 fights. But still, this was a whole lot better performance than the last time an art kid got pissed off. Oh god, why did I freeze it like that? Okay, so who do we got next?
Forget it. This is going nowhere. I'm just gonna finish you off right now.
Whoa, wait, what?
Here we have the big boss of NSR, the one who banned Rock from Lights Up auditions, the one who rejected Mayday and Zook because of personal bias, and the only one left standing in our way. Tatiana is a fight we were all looking forward to, and even then, I was still blown away by her speech before the fight. She actively questions why we are on this quest, what our plan is after, and even how our method solves anything. And the scary thing is, she's right. Mayday and Zook have no idea what to do after they beat Tatiana, or even how to run NSR. Mayday is just acting out of anger and throwing a tantrum, whereas Zook is just along for the ride. How's the fight itself, though? Absolutely epic! Tatiana isn't an artist, but a producer, something far scarier. There's one quote in particular that describes her throughout the fight.
You have no chance against me, for I have time on my side.
She's not kidding. Now, what keeps the fight from being number 1? The first couple of phases can drag on if you don't figure out what to do because time will reset, and as a result, you lose any progress you made throughout the fight. And her big twist is revealed during one of the later phases of the fight. Skip ahead to this timestamp if you don't want to get spoiled. So, she's actually Mayday's idol, Cool Fyra, former lead of the Ghoulings. After a falling out with her bandmates, she quit rock altogether and lost her inner fire. Thus, she turned to EDM and took over NSR with order and an iron fist. But it took Mayday and Zook beating her to realize there were no good guys in this scenario. Especially with what her fight symbolizes, the relationship between an artist and their fans. This comes to a head at the end of the game, but I've already spoiled enough. And the sequence is one that you just have to play for yourself. Tatiana was very challenging, but a very satisfying conclusion to an amazing tale. But number 1 is just that little bit better. If there's one thing I've put a lot of emphasis on for this list, it's symbolism and story. The bosses all symbolize the dark side of the music industry in some way, shape, or form, and their music has reflected this. For Ten, it was replaceability. For Eve, it was dichotomy. For Sayu, indie corporate corruption. DJ Subatomic Supernova, big dreams leading to big arrogance. But there's no better piece of compelling symbolism and no better story significance than the number one fight on this list, Yinu. Yinu is a 9-year-old piano prodigy that got recognized early, and she's got more than enough talent to show for it. Her piano was given to her by her father before he got sick with an unknown illness. It's never explained what happened to him, but we can make our guesses. When Mayday and Zook burst into her performance, they show absolutely no mercy and start bullying the poor kid.
Talk big about what?
Yeah, you need to speak up. The acoustics here isn't designed for speech clarity.
Talk big about music! But the only thing you guys seem to be good for is breaking stuff!
What's that? We're good at music stuff? Why, thank you!
No!
This is actually where we see Tatiana's point without realizing it. Rock music has only been used to destroy to the artists, and there's no real good that came from it. But what about the fight itself? Phase 1. Run to the stage while dodging music notes, and then when you think you get some easy damage, a giant hand swoops in to save Yinu, forcing you to shoot her down with music notes. Phase 2. The hand actually turns out to be her mom, and now they're working together to beat you while the mom taking a background role. Be careful, as this phase is actually one where you can get stun-locked by attacks. Phase 3. Mama destroys the stage and takes a more active role in trying to hurt you while telling Yinu to keep playing. Phase 4. Yinu is no longer the target. You must take down her mother. Do you understand it yet? Her symbolism is the exploitation of child talent. This usually comes with parents becoming the kids' agents, and even sometimes abuse. This fight was a good way to show this way better than any reality TV show like Dance Moms or Honey Boo Boo ever could. Over time, it became less about the kid and more about the parent stealing the spotlight. And you know the best part? Even after beating the mother, right as you're about to unleash your final attack, Yinu comes back and is very angry.
Yinu, my dear, you got them! Now, here for Mama one last time!
I hate you all. I hate you all! I so hate you all!
This part is unique in that no matter what backtrack you use, this will always be Yinu's finale. She is the only one playing the loudest, and the only other instruments accompanying her is a small orchestra. She will be heard! This part has you dodging more notes like in Phase 1, only this time they're not only faster, but they're more frequent. This was a fight that was a good show of emotions, symbolism, and music even after the fight is over. More than deserving of the number one spot. I'm Shun, and if you'll excuse me, I've got a phone call to make. Hey Mom, I love you.